Greetings.
Greetings.
Ascension into Christ consciousness through forgiveness is our next step in ascending. And ascending is simply raising our vibrations and moving higher in consciousness. As the blog stated, I was to speak on Thanksgiving, so maybe in 2 weeks that topic will come up again for me. And if it doesn't change, then we'll hear how to ascend to Christ consciousness or Christhood, as our theme records it, through Thanksgiving. The Master Teacher Jesus of Christianity said to forgive 7 times 70. When I began to review the scripture, I realized that the requirement was much more than I could see. I could not understand how I could forgive 7 times 70. Forgiveness is defined by Meriam Webster Dictionary as to give oneself love. Forgiveness is defined as to give oneself love. That means that I can only forgive myself. And in my practice of forgiveness in these past 2 weeks, I asked my heart, what was I to forgive? And I ask you the same, as my heart gave to me. Have you ever forgiven yourself for not knowing or understanding that you are a perfect human being? I did not either until I began my forgiveness exercises of 2 weeks ago. I had not forgiven myself for my ignorance of the perfect human being. I had not forgiven the many, many times that I said, I am not perfect. I'm only human, Not understanding that human simply meant spirit wrapped in material essence or energy. We were conditioned by our society, that is the mass mind, to forgive others. And we now know that the others are our emotion or energy in motion that flows through feeling or flows through the body, which we have labeled as feeling, that activates images, thoughts, and words we speak that shape the life we live each day. That is all changed now. Now is the time to give ourselves love and allow everyone else to give themselves love. We are to bless each other and to love all others. We were given the power of love to incorporate into the 3 tools that we were given to shape our life as what we call feeling, images, and thoughts, to heal our body, our mind, our soul, and our spirit, to ascend to Christ consciousness as perfect human beings. Dr. Holmes wrote, perfect God, perfect man, perfect being. We are perfect now. And I concluded I needed to examine the tools I was given before I took on the body to heal my life. If there's only one life, one mind, one power, one presence, as Reverend Marcia said in her meditation, when I forgive myself, I am forgiving all others. And the others are criticisms I placed upon my feeling, images and thoughts about others. We will share with you who, what, and how to forgive yourself, to give yourself love. The shift to 2020 is the time past when merely reading about universal laws has lost its value. We must become involved and dedicate our lives to some useful purpose. Whatever our goal in life, whatever our desires for achievement might be, universal laws can make these possible through practice. Ourselves are our behaviors, created by emotion or the energy that we call feeling, images, thoughts, and words. They are our ancestors. They are our creation. When we give love to our feeling, images, and thoughts, we are releasing the power within those feeling, images, and thoughts to create a flourishing life. This is the result of universal law of cause and effect. Living in harmony with universal laws reveals talent and abilities we little realize we possessed. We find that our minds and consciousness are uplifted and changed with the power and a desire to succeed in all we do. And our hearts and total being is filled with the spiritual love for all humanity. Our thinking will be broader, and our sympathies and feeling of compassion will grow stronger. Life will bring greater joys and happiness, and we will sense a divine purpose for our mission in life, which will be the greatest gift of all. Religious science is a how-to religion. How to do it yourself, to take responsibility for our images, our feelings, and our thoughts. And we begin with, who am I to forgive? Since we know there is only one and all others are part of the one, the answer is easy. Simply accepting our creation of others and release the energy to create a flourishing life. We say this planet is an illusion, which is a semblance, a misleading visual impression, unreality, deceiving appearances, just to name a few to describe illusion. That being so, we as metaphysicians bite the bullet and face all images, thoughts, and words we speak to know truth. Since all is energy, we can change the flow. We cannot change our life. We can change the flow of energy through our life. We've shared 3 affirmations for you to get started, to untangle the energy around your feelings, your images, and your thoughts. And you will find, after practicing the one shared, your individual words will come to you for your healing. See, there is that within you who knows all, and your words are the key to untangling your behaviors to give love to yourself. So what do we forgive or give love to? And we give love to the thoughts, feelings, words we have criticized about our behavior. As an example, I forgive myself for struggling against myself for divine power that already exists within me. I understand this to mean I am to accept the power that is within me as my power instead of giving it to someone else whom I have perceived that have more authority over my life. That could be a friend, children, mate, priest, doctor, or minister. Another example, I forgive myself for destitution created by vows of poverty. Another one, where I believe hardship, misery, and imprisonment, impoverishment would get me to heaven. That would make me favorable in the eyes of God. That money is the root of all evil. That I must be poor to be spiritual. They told me that, and I believed them because of the lack of faith in the God inside of me, the perfect human being, my ignorance of the perfect human being. Another example, I forgive myself for belittling my direct connection to the God self within me. This one is thinking that my thoughts are not God thoughts because I have labeled them as not good. I forgive myself for forgetting that heaven is always within me. And heaven is described as above the mental plane, according to Mr. Webster. So I call upon the 7-ups when I'm going down the rabbit hole. I switch channels to know truth. And these are just a few I've been working on. My list is long. I have been at this thing called life for 4 billion years, according to my resources. My experience with forgiveness, rather forgiving myself, has been when I began to practice. Thoughts come up I had not considered. Images that I gave no credit to. Those thoughts I ignored. In an earlier service this morning, the meditation was on the inner child. And an image came to me of when I was a little girl between 3 and 4 years old. All my sisters and brothers, there were 5 of us, I being the last one, were going to school, and I would be left at home. And I remember putting on my mother's dress and tagging off behind them. And I remember vaguely the teacher telling my youngest brother to bring me back home. I don't remember what happened after then or before then. That scene keeps coming to my mind, and I saw the good in that. That at a very young age, I wanted to know. You see, I came here almost knowing who I am as you are, because you are on this community. If you did not know before you came here, you would not be on this community. We can continue to give ourselves love for acting as victims, defending our limitations and denying our personal power. Forgiveness allows one to live freely in a world of turmoil and depression, for which the world is experiencing as we speak. So your question may be, how do I know when I have given a feeling, a thought, or image enough love? Listen up. Are you ready? My answer, you will know until you feel differently about the same thing. Again, you will know when you have given a feeling, thought, or image enough love when you feel differently about the event or the same thing. Our first concept in forgiveness is a people become willing to face your illusions of somebody done me wrong song. When we begin to accept every illusion for the expansion of consciousness, to know that we know, we will feel the freedom of experiencing conditions, events, and occurrences other people on the planet are experiencing. Don't set yourself up on fire to warm somebody else. Don't set yourself on fire to warm somebody else. Our second concept is forgiveness of places. Our message is to look for the good. Example, I hated the city of Chicago many, many years ago because my favorite brother was hurt in that city. And I carried that around for years and years. And I had an opportunity to go through Chicago on my way to Canada on one of the trips in the ministry. And I had to look at how I felt about that city. And when I began to look for the good in that city, I recall the sights of the city, how beautiful I thought the city was. I was introduced to a religious discipline called Baha'i Faith, which I'd never heard of. And the people in the city were helpful in directing me to places I needed to go. To ascend into Christ consciousness through forgiveness. See the good. Look for the good. As we set our intentions to give love to everything, every what we call feeling, image, and thought that comes to our mind. My resources state that the energy of intent is the first energy to tap into the belief system. If that is true, I'm required to make sure my intent is for the highest good of all concerned. Don't set yourself on fire to warm someone else. Third and lastly, to ascend into Christ consciousness through forgiveness, through things. How honest are you with yourself? Do you follow through with what you say you're going to do? When you say you're going to do something and don't do it, you're not being honest with yourself. You are stepping out of your integrity. You are setting yourself up to fail. Whether it is sweeping the floor, washing the clothes, going to a meeting, it doesn't matter. To regain the energy from things, place your hands on every object and simply say, I release you for your highest good, as you release me for my highest good. The attachment you held when first purchased is released for you to recreate what you want in the present moment or present time. Ascending into Christ consciousness through forgiveness is to act, do, feel, and think only what we wish to demonstrate. Dr. Holmes referred to this state as volition. To ascend, that is to rise higher in consciousness. Daily spiritual practices allow us to live in the overflow, and that is to live in a state of consciousness that has light when we find ourselves going down the rabbit hole. In closing, to ascend to Christ consciousness through forgiveness, it is necessary for us to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves is the only form of forgiveness necessary, 7 times 70, for there are no others. And lastly, if you remember nothing else that we've shared about this in this message, we want you to remember, you know you have given enough love to a so-called feeling, image, or thought when you feel differently about the same thing. Let us pray, giving thanks that each one has received its individual message to move further and higher into that consciousness of the Christ within them, to bring forth the pure essence, the pure energy of love to recreate a life that is flourishing, that is abundant, that is happy, that is filled with laughter. And as you go out into the marketplace this week, the power within the words that we have spoken radiates out through you, healing your world and the world around you. And you are the healer. You are the instrument of the God inside you. We give thanks for the privilege to share. All is well. So be it.
So be it.
Yes, Reverend Michelle, my beloved.
Hi there.
Yes. What is your question?
For the topic today. Because I needed to forgive myself, I realized this week that I have missed some business opportunities. And I was kicking myself for doing that. And so today you just freed me, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
It is my privilege. I know that whatever I'm going through, the whole world is going through it. That's why we meet on these venues to share, to support, to encourage each other that you're not alone. We're just responding to our experiences differently. And when we respond in love, when we give ourselves love, simply by telling ourselves, I love myself. I go to sleep every night telling myself, I love myself. I love myself. 7 times 70. Giving love to yourself is forgiveness. Thank you, Reverend Michelle.
Thank you.
I want to give thanks for this message this morning, for reminding me and that I need to, forgiveness means to forgive myself. You know, from time to time we're told that in this gathering, we get our individual messages. And so that's my message for today. I give thanks.
Thank you for reminding us that each week we come as simply as a reminder of our greatness, of our magnificence, of the unearthed, uncovered potentials we have to express this greatness as human beings.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Most of you know I get the benefit of individual guidance from Reverend Alma. However, this morning, the message of forgiveness went a little deeper and broader. I am working with 4 young people who I am having to let go all of my used to do it this way, used to do it that way, used to. And in guiding them, that is a part of what I am having to learn for myself. The idea of forgiveness and forgiving is to give love to oneself, broadens the idea. I spoke to them this morning about narrowly speaking about things, and I realized during this message that I was narrowly thinking about forgiving, and part of that narrowness was excluding myself under the microscope of things to be forgiven and the little things as well. And so I thank you very much. And thank Reverend Michelle when she said she was released. That triggered the idea of knowing that I can also release me release them, and move forward in loving and giving myself the consideration for being the perfect human being that I am, and moving into the willingness or being willing to change my Eustace. So thank you.
My privilege. Just a reminder that we are only responsible for ourselves. We are only responsible for ourselves. We are responsible to the world, to everything and everyone around us. And responsible means to respond in love. And when we respond in love to every feeling, image, and thought, we release all of our attachments to outcomes, to people, places, things. We free ourselves and we free others simply by acknowledging the human being that we are, loving ourselves just as we are, loving the shape of our body, loving the color of our skin, loving the grade of our hair, all of which many times we have placed criticism about.
Thank you. Patricia, when you said the used to's, changing the used to's, I thought about my father, and I thank you for even the realization that it can be different. And what is it, forgiveness? It's thinking differently about the same thing, but just the willingness to see that it could be different, that it can be different, just opened my heart. I thank you so much.
See, we all have something to share. We all have something to give in these on these venues. Otherwise, we would not show up. And the purpose for our discussion group is just for you to share. For many times, you may say something, or the speaker may not say anything that will trigger a new idea within you. But during our discussions, ideas, feelings, thoughts will come up, not necessarily from the speaker, but from those who are speaking. The spirit within us teaches us all things we need to know. Thank you for sharing. It is our privilege to serve. I see no more hands, so
Okay, we have no more hands.
I have another thing.
Okay, go
Um,
ahead.
and how significant it is for me when Reverend Alma said, do things differently. If you did it with your left hand, do it with your right hand and whatever. And I started doing my meals differently, not on purpose. It just kind of fell away. And I was doing some wild stuff. So I lost about 10 pounds just doing things differently. Not a conscious thing, but little things made such a big difference. And I'm grateful for my willingness to embrace it.
and that's the key. Willingness. Be willing to try it. Okay, it doesn't make sense, but let's try it anyway. The affirmations you we shared the affirmations. It's just to get you started. Be willing Okay, I'll start it. It doesn't make any sense, but just start it. And you'll see, because you have set your intent to ascend into Christ consciousness and put on the hood of the Christ consciousness, and that is to live in the mind of love, of live in the mind of the Christ, of Jesus, who put on the Christ through love, joy, peace, wisdom, beauty, life, and power.
Want to read the affirmations now?
Just an affirmation for people as I forgive you, I forgive myself, I forgive you, I release you to your highest good as you release me to my highest good. And the reason that it goes in, that it is geared to someone else, is because that's the way the tape recorded it, as someone else did you wrong. So we start with, I forgive you. And that's the purpose for forgiving people, for people, places, is I look for the good. What is the good? I look for the good, and I see the good in my experience in this city. And for things, you place your hands on things, and I shared that in my message, and say the same thing. Any way that you can form an affirmation, because it is your affirmations now, not mine, that's going to get you through the day. You can start with mine, you can start with anyone's, but it is your affirmation that will come through you from your authentic self.